He told us that within 3 days that we would have it back, so we didn't check in for 3 days. And then after that, my husband's been down there every day, you know, to see if he's there. Finally, he got a hold of the landlord, and the landlord gave us his name and told us that he was in jail for family problems.
Sharon Parker was one of several viewers who called In Your Corner about Payless TV. She had taken her television in there for repairs, but all of a sudden the shop was closed and the owner, Gary Barnard, could not be found. So the question was how to get the television out of the closed shop. The rent was paid and the property owner could not enter the shop. Sharon heard Bernard was in jail, but checked every jail in the area and could find no trace of him. In Your Corner learned that Sharon and others whose TVs were locked in the shop could file an order of replevin in small claims court to get their property returned. But the owner had to be found so papers could be served on him. Well, we found him with the help of a deputy sheriff. Bernard was in a courtroom downtown for his preliminary hearing on a sex offense charge. The sheriff's office said they could serve papers on him, even in jail. However, our viewers tell us, soon after that, a friend of Bernard's family contacted the owners to return all the televisions. Last week, In Your Corner was contacted by Dolly Combs, who had seen an ad in the newspaper for roof repairs. She and her husband hired Rick Beasley to fix a leak over a back room of the Combs house. However, after the first rain, Dolly found that the original leak was fixed, but now she had about 5 others. She couldn't find Rick Beasley to come back and honor his 3-year guarantee.
It's supposed to rain tomorrow. What are you going to do tomorrow?
Just like I've done all the time, get the trash can put under the drips.
Well, I went to the Beasley residence and found that roof repairman Rick Beasley and his wife were now separated. Mrs. Beasley, who was there, said he was in Texas and only came back occasionally to aggravate her. She said she was living on welfare. After that story aired, In Your Corner was contacted by Robert C. Harris, builder in Edmond. Harris said he wants to help out Dolly Combs and get those new roof leaks fixed. Not only that, he wants to help out the family of the roofer Rick Beasley, who is living on food stamps now. And on another In Your Corner case, I checked back on Janie Bordeo. Janie's gas had been shut off because her bill had accumulated to almost $500. Then someone turned her gas on illegally, and ONG pulled out the meter altogether. Well, Janie is divorced. She has 5 children ranging from age 17 down to 2 years old, and she has another one on the way, 2 weeks overdue. Janie cooked for her family on a single-burner electric hot plate donated by a neighbor, but she had no heat and would have to bring her new baby home to a cold apartment. However, after that story aired, viewers donated food, clothing, and toys for her family, and enough money was donated to pay off her $500 gas bill, which was completed today. I found the Ray Hunt family living in a camper in the country outside of Ninnekah. Mrs. Hunt had written because her husband was disabled with emphysema. She said she had heart trouble, and their 5-year-old daughter Retha is epileptic. The Social Security checks for all of them amount to $568 a month. But then there's $210 rent for the camper, propane gas bills, oxygen for her husband, and drugs for Mrs. Hunt and her daughter. It all added up to hard times for the Hunt family.
He's been off of work since 1980.
I've been off ever since.
You worked in the landfill?
Yes, sir, for the city of Chickasha, and then I done some ranch work the last that I done, and then I got down to where I couldn't do nothing. I'm 100% total disability.
Well, you had lung problems? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I've got lung problems. We buried a bunch of chemicals out there from the airport, and we had to have a gas mask on. We could only stay indoors for 5 minutes, and then we'd have to get out in another and change over. And it got into our lungs, and I'm telling you what, it was pitiful.
So that caused you some lung damage?
Yes, it has. It has caused me lung damage.
Are you on how much oxygen, or what? Did the doctor prescribe oxygen?
Yes, sir. I've got 2 prescriptions, one for the car and one for here in the house.
I see. You have any aid on that, though?
No help whatsoever. I have to rent that bottle in there, and the deal that valves and stuff goes with it.
How are you paying for it?
Well, we had friends to help us a time or two.
We have to pay it by the month.
Ray says his doctor told him to move to a drier
not
climate
able
for his
anyway. We
lungs,
can't
but
drive
they
for
can't
6
afford it.
days.
They also have expensive drugs to buy for 5-year-old Retha, who has epilepsy.
Well, she's taken phenobarbital, dilantin, depukine, and the new one is Tegretol. And the Tegretol is real expensive.
It's $23 for just one little bitty bottle.
I see. Is she, who's prescribing that for her?
The Children's Hospital was the ones we got the last prescriptions from, and her doctor here was Freed, but we can't see Freed anymore because we don't have any finances, and they wouldn't even accept her at the emergency room because you have to have money.
I see. Well,
Friends have helped out the Hunts from time to time. Their 26-year-old son can only give them limited help. I informed the Hunts that Ray may be eligible for some help with his drugs and oxygen from the American Lung Association. Daughter Retha can get a discount on drugs from the Oklahoma Epilepsy Foundation, and an application has been mailed out. We also found some help from Jewel Logan, an In Your Corner viewer at the Autumn House Senior Citizens Residence in Midwest City. Jewel wanted to help out by donating an artificial Christmas tree she no longer used, but thought that the Hunt family could use. Also, Jack and Marvine Bartrug of J&M Tax donated 2 boxes of groceries, some toys, and gifts for all of the family, and $10 in cash. And an anonymous donor gave us another check for the Hunts.
another one in here, too, that some people gave us. Why don't you look in there?
Thank you. I hope they know we appreciate it. I would like for them to understand that we appreciate
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Here's your check.
$100.
There's our Christmas.
That's from an anonymous donor.
Well, the anonymous donor gave us a check for $100 to give to the Hunts, so we hope with that money and the information on benefits for medicine, plus the Christmas tree, the food, and the toys, the Hunts might have a Merry Christmas. And it appeared the Hunts' daughters couldn't wait. They began celebrating Christmas today. Just before Thanksgiving, In Your Corner heard from Josie Moore. She was concerned about having a dinner at home for her children. Her concern was real since she had no range to cook on, no hot water, and no food. Her husband had left them. She couldn't drive and was making a few dollars selling items from her house. She told us she had to heat water in an electric wok to bathe the children. Josie's story aroused quite a response. In a couple of days, she had a new range and a new hot water heater, donated by Lonnie Friel of the Sunline Corporation in Elk City. A Thanksgiving dinner came from Wyatt's Cafeteria. Josie now is getting food stamps and awaiting other financial assistance. Well, early in December, I was called about Janie Bordeo. She was divorced, raising 5 children, and pregnant with a 6th. Her gas bills had accumulated till the gas was shut off. Someone turned it on illegally, and the meter was pulled out. Janie cooked on a hot plate. Viewers changed all that. Donations came in to pay off her $500 gas bill. The gas was turned back on that day. Food came in from the farmer's market. Viewers delivered toys and gifts, and Janie delivered a new baby boy that she took home to a warm apartment. Well, the Ray Hunt family in Ninica outside Chickasha had no phone, but I heard about them anyway. They were living in a camper, had health problems, and 2 young daughters, one with epilepsy. Ray was unable to work because of emphysema, but viewers contributed money anonymously to help the Hunts. I passed along over $200 to the family so they could celebrate Christmas and pay off some medical bills. We also advised them of agency assistance to help pay those high medical bills. The long, hot summer began on a generous note. Dick Miller had seen In Your Corner repair wheelchairs for the handicapped as well as seek out chairs for those who needed new ones. Well, Dick had purchased 2 expensively upholstered wheelchairs with some other merchandise and decided to give the chairs to us. We saw that they got to those who needed them. One to the Office of Volunteer Services in Canadian County, which hadn't been able to get one for their mobile van to serve the elderly and handicapped. Another went to the Title IV Indian Education Project for the Oklahoma Public Schools. This one would help an Indian youth in the 3rd grade who had multiple sclerosis. Also in the summer, In Your Corner answered a call from the Walters family in Bethany. They had been swarmed by egrets and herons, birds protected by the federal government. The Walters found them when they came home from vacation, thousands of them. At first it was interesting, but when they were no longer able to use their yard or let their children play among the inches of droppings and feathers, it became a hazard. We learned there are laws to protect the wildlife, but none to protect humans from the birds. A story of determination came from the state prison system. Ron Caldwell was a prison inmate, a handicapped inmate being kept at a nursing home. Ron had fallen off a train platform and lost both arms and a leg, but he still had to finish serving a sentence for arson. He was determined to improve his artistic talents to earn a living. He sculpted using instruments held in his teeth. Ron asked for some professional guidance, and In Your Corner found it from Christine Verteen at the Oklahoma Arts Annex, who kindly took time to advise Ron on his work. In Your Corner heard from Oklahoma's thriving softball fans this summer who complained that city park restrooms were unfit or often locked when they held their tournaments. We found they were right, but the City Parks and Rec Department informed us that the Softball Association was responsible for maintenance of the restrooms. The city was responsible for repairs. Vandalism made that very difficult, but repairs were made and the Softball Association got the word out about maintenance. It was a very hot summer for one viewer. Lynn Farley was in a partial body cast after an operation. He lived in a one-room apartment with no air conditioning, and he was without work or pay. In Your Corner found relief from Sight and Sound stores, who donated an air conditioner, and some help from Herb Campbell at the farmer's market, who donated enough food to get Lynn by until he was able to work. In Your Corner was asked to look into rent-a-dogs last summer, rental cars that were used. The price was better, but was the performance. One viewer rented a used car and was stranded 3 times with breakdowns. In Your Corner found 1 out of 3 agencies with unmaintained cars after we rented 3 similar models and tested them. Always remember to look under the hood first. One complaint about Spring Creek Cemetery opened the door for many others. Viewers who had bought cemetery plots and had a loved one buried there were shocked to return and find the weeds growing high, the roads muddy, and the grave sites uncared for, some of them sinking. Some complaints came from as far away as Texas. After 3 reports, the new managers promised a full-time maintenance man and the promised improvements. In Your Corner saw a last wish come true for Dale Woodside, an assistant coach at Northwest Classen High who died of cancer earlier in the year. He had wanted to take his wife and 2 children to Disney World, but had never been able to. In Your Corner heard from the St. James Catholic Church. A confirmation class held garage sales and pancake breakfasts. That, along with other donations to In Your Corner, raised enough money to send the Woodsides to Disney World, a bright spot after a family tragedy. But the hero of the summer was a cat named Tiger who woke up the John Lyons family, whose mobile home had a faulty heater. The heater emitted carbon monoxide, sending the 2 Lyons children to the hospital. But Tiger the cat woke up John before more serious harm was caused, thank goodness. In Your Corner talked with a manufacturer who promised a new furnace for the mobile home. Tomorrow, a look at the 4th quarter of the year. I'm Brad Edwards, In Your Corner. What is a problem for one person can be the solution to a problem for another. And in the fall of '82, that turned out to be the case for In Your Corner when Linda Harvell called about a rooster problem. Last Easter, she thought she was getting 25 free chicks when she bought a sack of feed. It turned out to be 25 roosters. They all crowed at the same time every morning and laid no eggs, of course. So she said we could give them to someone that needed them. That turned out to be the Baptist Boys Home, who picked them up for a future dinner at the Boys Home. Well, fall brought election time, and for Greg Burns, who's handicapped, it brought the question of helping the handicapped vote. Getting into his voting location was quite a struggle. He thought the state had provided for voting assistance, but no one offered. Greg was right. In Your Corner talked with Election Board Chairman Lee Slater, who said a law was passed that would allow the handicapped to send someone in and ask for help. An election worker would come out and let him vote in his car, and that's what Greg did in the November elections. Buying a house has been quite a problem in today's economy. Keith Sossaman and his wife found it a bigger problem than expected. They bought a house with a government loan, FHA. They thought the FHA inspected the homes and required repairs, but their house had bad roof leaks. In Your Corner found that in order to help more people get homes, the FHA was being less stringent in their inspections. If they required too many improvements, they said, less people would be able to afford homes. But viewers responded to help the Sossaman, promising a new roof for their home as soon as a roofer could be found. The cyanide-laced headache tablets, which killed several people in Chicago, aroused caution in viewers in Oklahoma City. Pam Lovin called In Your Corner about a bufferin capsule her husband found. It appeared to have been tampered with, but Pam could get no one to look at it. She said some just laughed at her. In Your Corner found Oklahoma City had a branch of the Federal Food and Drug Administration here, which took the tablet and had it inspected. Nothing was found, to everyone's relief. In Your Corner often hears about door-to-door salesmen, but these days you don't often hear of those who walk in your door and spray red paint on your carpet to demonstrate spot remover, $20 a bottle spot remover. Well, that's what happened to Leon Harrell, who told us the spot remover didn't work. He still had a red tint on his carpet. In Your Corner tracked down the company, and officials said they'd come back, remove the spot to Leon's satisfaction, or replace the carpet. An Oklahoma City pediatrician this fall began a campaign to get parents with infants to buckle them up into car seats. Oklahoma ranks 6th in the nation for infants killed in car accidents. In Your Corner joined in on the campaign to make car seats available. Many area car dealers donated hundreds of dollars to help make the seats available at hospitals for a minimum usage fee. Dr. Stephen Ryder says 96% of the infant deaths can be prevented with car seats. Also in the fall, In Your Corner was informed by former drivers that the city contracted airport limousine service was violating its contract. They were not permitted to pick up or drop riders at private residences, as the taxis do, only at businesses and hotels. But we found you could easily call and get the limousine service to make a private residence pickup in violation of its contract. Driver's records book showed the practice was done daily. Airport Director Leroy Hansen promised an investigation of that, as well as the allegations of sexual harassment by the limousine service manager. However, at this point, no replacements have been made in the city-contracted limousine service. The contract is up for renewal. The former drivers say if the limousine service has been violating its contract, why doesn't the airport director take bids from other companies for the service? As the days neared Christmas, In Your Corner helped several families, many suffering economic problems because of poor health, others just unable to find work. But nothing was accomplished without the viewers of In Your Corner and their generosity. Most have been through rough times themselves, and when they were better off, they remembered those less fortunate than themselves. We thank all those who have helped us help you over the past year, and we wish all a problem-free 83. I'm Brad Edwards, still In Your Corner. Last evening, we told you about the case of Jim Pruitt. His grandfather had hired a plumber that advertised in the buyer's guide. Courtesy Plumbing offered guaranteed plumbing with a 20% discount for senior citizens. Well, after Jim's grandfather died, Jim said he was unable to get that 20% discount. The estimate for fixing leaking kitchen and bathroom sinks was $150. But with the addition of new kitchen faucets and a bathroom sink trap, the price went to $270. Jim couldn't understand what the 20% discount was. He also found a puncture in the drain pipe under the house. Water was starting to fill up around it. Well, he called for Courtesy Plumbing to return. He took several days off of work waiting for them, but no one showed up. After we located the plumber, he said he was threatened by Jim, but he would come back. However, we found that Steve and Jeff Smith of Courtesy Plumbing had no city license, which meant they could not do such work. But Jeff agreed to pay for a licensed plumber to do the job. Well, today, In Your Corner heard from Mrs. Beth Wantland. Her neighbor had had plumbing done also by Steve Smith of Courtesy Plumbing, and Beth said there were some problems. She helps her neighbor who has been ill, so Beth tried to watch as Courtesy Plumbing put in a new water line from the city main up to the house, a new sewer line under the house, a new stool in the bathroom, and a new hot water tank.
And that leaked all overnight, and the kitchen was just completely flooded. And then the toilet wasn't fastened to the floor, just wobbling back and forth. And he says she dropped something down in it and stopped it up, and he couldn't get it out, so he had to put a new toilet in. Well, if he just had to put a new toilet in, it seemed like when he took that out, he could have gotten out whatever was in there, if there was anything in there. But we have no idea whether he put in 2 new toilets or not. Because I wasn't over here all the time. And
Mrs. Wantland and her neighbors say they fought with plumber Steve Smith to get an itemized bill. Most plumbers list the parts used and their prices in addition to the labor.
And he said, you got an itemized list. And I don't call that an itemized list, do you?
As I learned yesterday, Steve and Jeff Smith of Courtesy Plumbing have no city license. So I checked with the city code enforcement department to see if they could legally do the work they were charging for.
Generally, the replacement of the bib washers so that your faucets don't leak and things like this, the replacement of a flush valve or something like this. Those are little minor jobs that are normally done and do not require a permit. The things that you have mentioned are permit requirements.
So in this case, Steve and Jeff Smith must have a city license, and they must have a work permit to do the jobs. And the laying of a water line or sewer line must be inspected by the city for the consumer's protection.
Yes, in the first place, we have potable water, and you could, in fact, contaminate the water. You maybe get a sewer line crossed with the water line. Anything could happen.
I'm very upset, and I think I have been ripped off, none of which is my fault. I'm a good, honest, tax-paying citizen, and this has been a nightmare that has hurt me financially and has hurt me in the public and has hurt my work record.
5 years later, Karen York is still upset over her 1978 taxes, mainly because she is still owed money, she says, by the certified public accountant who prepared her taxes that year. The CPA made a simple error in the addition of salary from the W-2 forms. Well, that led to problems with the IRS, which Karen describes as a nightmare.
When you owe taxes, you must pay back the taxes in an installment agreement. And due to their bookkeeping problems, they levied my wages twice wrongfully.
Okay, but they apologized and got that straightened out eventually.
Yes, but
Okay.
that caused bad embarrassment at my work and at my bank.
When Karen got her payments record straightened out, she got 2 letters of apology from the IRS. She also received a promissory note from her CPA that he would pay the penalties and taxes for the extra money she owed to the IRS, but she never received the money, totaling almost $600. When he said he didn't have the money, she set up easy monthly payments of $36 a month. He made a few payments, then stopped.
He refuses to return my phone calls. He will not answer my letters. He just makes no effort to contact me or to work with me in any way.
What have you done to try and get him to pay?
I have taken him to court, in small claims court, and have got a judgment against him.
Karen won a judgment against David Tate in August of last year, but has not been able to collect the $550 owed. Earlier, Karen asked for help from the State Board of Public Accountancy, but they found no probable cause for any violation. But I checked back today to see if anything could be done now since Karen won the judgment.
We would be glad to reopen the investigation to find out if the things which have transpired since no probable cause was found would constitute any violation of the Public Accountancy Act or the rules of the board, and that includes the rules of professional practice.
Well, I called CPA Tate at his office in Mangum today for his side of the story. He agreed that he owed the money, but said he was unable to pay.
Is it possible to pay her back on a monthly installment of $36 a month?
Yes, she will accept that. She'll accept it back in any form. So we can say that you would pay her back on an installment basis? As agreed.
When I visited Virginia, she said we'd have to sit on an old couch in her living room because she still doesn't have her new one. The whole episode began in September of 1981. That's when she ordered a new couch from Dillard's, one that she felt was not satisfactory.
And after I'd had it, just in a matter of days, I know I'm the only one that sits on it, but I noticed how wrinkled it was getting, so I called the store, and they said, well, that's no problem, just reverse those cushions. So I did, but then the other side started getting wrinkled, and I turned it back over again, and those wrinkles had not fallen out.
Well, Virginia's salesman told her he thought they could do something about that and sent out an upholstery man, but nothing could be done. Virginia continued to complain, and in October of 1982, her salesman sent out a truck and picked up the couch. He told her to come in and order another one, which she did, but that one hasn't shown up.
It's very bad over the holidays. We couldn't even have company because Mr. Seavey has a lot of great-grandchildren. We don't have a place for everybody to sit down, and that makes an extra bedroom for us. It's just a two-bedroom house, but to have a couch like that would be equal to another bedroom.
It was a sleeper sofa Virginia had ordered. Well, she called to see what had happened and found that her salesman was not there anymore. There was a new man in charge who had to make another order for her. She still heard nothing, so she went and talked with the store manager.
He kept telling me that it was on order, and he didn't know what the holdup was, and he gave me a couple different cities that it might be coming from, and said he'd check on it and let me know, but they never called me to tell me anything. I always had to call them.
So Virginia says she's still making payments on a sofa she doesn't have. She thought she heard the Federal Trade Commission rule orders had to be delivered in 30 days or you get your money back, but she couldn't get a refund. Well, I checked and found that law applies to mail orders. In Oklahoma, orders such as Virginia's have to be delivered only in a reasonable amount of time. If not, you get a refund. However, I checked with the Shepherd Mall Dillard's manager, Mac Harris. He said he thought Virginia didn't understand that her couch was a special order and would take longer to arrive from the factory. However, he told me if Virginia didn't want to wait any longer, he would refund her money and cancel the special ordered sofa, which Virginia says she will do.
I want that charge off of my bill, and I want to quit being harassed, because to my way of thinking, I am being harassed by the telephone company because I'm refusing to pay for something I didn't ask for.
Margot Godwin runs a temporary secretary and a phone answering service. She felt her phone answering service was in jeopardy because of her problem with the phone company, a problem she says started with her own mistake. She says she didn't read the contract for advertising in the West Suburban Yellow Pages before she signed it because she was busy. She thought she was paying a one-time fee of $168, but it was a monthly fee, something she couldn't easily afford just starting out in business. So Margot canceled the contract when she moved to a new location, or at least she thought she canceled it.
But when I did decide to move, and I was told that by disconnecting and not leaving the forwarding number, or giving the new number, that relieved me of my obligation.
And you thought you were through with it then when you moved and
Yes.
disconnected?
Yes.
But you weren't.
No.
What happened?
Well, I continued to get bills. Oh, well, I also wrote a letter on October the 5th before I moved, in writing, canceling it. I wrote another letter on October the 23rd, canceling it. I continued to pay the regular equipment and bills, talked to numerous people at the telephone company. And then finally, the last time it appeared, the last bill that it appeared on was in January of 1982. Then it finally quit.
Well, Margot canceled it in October of 1981, but the advertising charge was finally removed in January of 1982. She thought the ordeal was over, but a new charge, an advertising charge, once again appeared on her phone bill in August of 1982.
It did appear I did start calling again. I called them and asked them about it, and they indicated to me that unless, like if you take out an advertisement in one directory, unless you cancel it in writing 5 days before the next directory goes to press, it will automatically be renewed and you will again pay the cost.
But you did that when you...
I did that on October the 5th and again on October the 23rd of 1981.
And here they are in what?
August of 1982, and he was telling me that I had to cancel it in writing 5 days before the 1982 directory went to press, which I assume was in August of 1982. I told him if October the 5th of 81 wasn't 5 days before August of 1982, that, you know, we had some problems.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but an ad appeared again in the Yellow Pages, which Margot had not ordered. And the listing at the top of the page had her new address and phone number, but the large ad at the bottom of the page had her old address and phone number. Margot was furious. She was being charged for an ad she did not order and refused to pay for. She was receiving a service interruption notice, which, if carried out, would ruin her business. She said the local business office referred her to Bell St. Louis business office, and it was still not resolved. Well, In Your Corner contacted the local Bell business office last week, and District Manager Sonny Crescent said today the problem was taken care of now.
The situation on Margot's account is the chances of this happening to anybody else are slim to none. And it was the best I can tell you about what I have tracked back on it is a combination of human error, somebody intending to write one number and wrote another phone number, and orders were issued, service order was issued on the wrong number, and somehow that created an ad getting back in the book that should not have been there.